Yo, what's up? This is BoxingWave here to speak about Gary Russell Jr. and VASYL Lomachenko post-fight. All right. If you see my prediction video, I gave the nod to Gary Russell Jr. I thought his activity was going to give him the decision at the end. Okay. He was very active. The problem is he didn't land anything. You know, what was it, 83 out of, he only landed 83 total punches out of 806. You know, we don't know if that's 100% accurate, probably not, but it was pretty close, you know, because I didn't see Gary Russell Jr. land much, only, you know, not many clean, effective shots. Okay, Lomachenko put on a masterful performance. Okay, totally outclassed Gary Russell Jr. If you follow me on Twitter, one of the first things I tweeted after the first round is that Lomachenko looks very comfortable with Gary Russell's speed, hand speed. Okay, it didn't seem to bother him at all. He was able to close the distance between the two of them very easy at will, whenever he felt like it, without getting touched. Okay, you know, Gary Russell Jr. He was doing a lot, you know, with that jab of his. He was using the jab the majority of the fight. Had a hard time landing power shots, but the jab he was using a lot, and he wasn't really. It was just looking good. It was looking fast, but he was doing nothing but touching Lomachenko's glove. He was even backing Lomachenko up with it at times, but the problem is he wasn't connected. He wasn't landing clean with it. You know, it wasn't like the jab that Lomachenko was using against him. Okay, where he's popping Gary Russell Jr.'s head back at will. It was just a dominated performance. I thought Gary Russell Jr. Only won maybe 2 rounds. Okay, maybe 2 rounds, 1 or 2 rounds. He proved his toughness. You got to give him all the credit for that. He proved how tough. There was about 3 or 4 different occasions where Lomachenko could have knocked him out or stopped him, and he didn't get dropped at all. You know, he showed a lot of toughness. He fought back. I mean, he was back against the ropes several times, but he showed a lot of toughness in there. We know he has a good chin because he got hit with some hard shots in there. Okay, hard, clean, effective shots, and he's definitely hurt by it, but he kept fighting. You know, and you know was able to go 12 rounds with Lomachenko. All right, now let me speak on the fight. The two fighters. Let me break down Lomachenko a little bit. You know, and I see people talking, and I think people are forgetting or not noticing certain things about Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko's best ability is his rhythm. Okay, it is his footwork. His footwork proved to be his fast feet proved to be better than Gary Russell Jr.'s hand speed. Okay, but that's not the only factor. Okay, you got to look at the fact that this guy's rhythm very hard to time. Okay, very hard to time. Gary Russell Jr. just could not land on this guy, even with throwing 800 punches. He could not catch this guy with a clean shot because this guy Lomachenko was so unpredictable. Okay, the way he moves his feet, he basically resets himself. All right, he closed the distance. That's what he did often. Okay, he just closed the distance between the two fighters. And when he got inside, all right, sometimes he wouldn't do anything at all. He would just show that, listen, I'm here, and slide back out. He wanted to wait for the perfect timing. You know, sometimes he'd get on this side, block a couple shots, move back out. He'll go back in, you know, throw a right hook to the body. One clean shot, you heard it. You know, you could see it in Gary Russell's face that it hurt, it bothered him. Right? And he started doing that in the very first round. Okay, sometimes he'd go inside, throw a good combination, throw a couple uppercut, and slither his way right outside. He did this the whole fight. You go inside, land a couple jabs, you know, throw a combination. He'll move right out of there. All right, and that's what I said in the prediction video. I said he was gonna do this. Okay, he doesn't. He's a very accurate puncher. All right. He does not like to swing and miss. Okay, when he's in there close, it's like he's in the danger zone. All right, listen, I'm either gonna hit this guy or I'm gonna keep it moving. You know, but the one thing I want to do is if I throw a punch, I want to be able to land and not get hit. Okay, Very slick fighter. This guy, Gary Russell Jr., was open. One thing that I noticed, he was very open to get hit with a body shot throughout the fight. Right? Lomachenko had no problem landing a body shot. But another thing that Lomachenko could have easily kept land continuously in the fight was that overhand left. Okay, he seemed to be very open with it, and whenever Lomachenko did counter him with it, he didn't abuse it though. This is what I mean about not being predictable. You know, he changed it up throughout the whole fight. You know, you go inside, move in, move out. You know, move in, attack the body, move out, go up top, move out. He would do it often in the fight, the whole fight. Gary Russell Jr. did not stand a chance. Another thing too, like I said, the hand speed was not a factor for Gary Russell Jr. You know, it just looked like him throwing those jabs like the way that he did. It just looked really pretty. Like it didn't look like it affected Lomachenko. Lomachenko basically looked like in the first round, even in the first round, he looked like he fought a bunch of Gary Russell Jr.'s before. You know, I'm watching the fight and I'm seeing myself, you know, this guy and his amateur experience, you know, this guy he's fighting Gary Russell like he fought a bunch of really fast fighters before, because he was able to avoid. Another thing you gotta look at, look how low Lomachenko was able to get when he closed the distance. Look at the difference in their height. All right, he had a major height advantage over Gary Russell Jr., which is normal because Gary Russell Jr. is a small guy. He's very short. But look how low he was able to get when he was in front of Gary Russell Jr. Look at the angles he was throwing his punches. Gary Russell Jr. did not stand a chance. He was missing wild shots. Okay, it's just a masterful performance by Lomachenko. He totally outclassed this guy. All right, he made it look like Gary Russell Jr. was the amateur. Okay, all of those fights before, Gary Russell Jr., you know, not to take away from you know what, Gary Russell Jr. still has a future. I made a video the other day saying that Gary Russell Jr. should retire if he loses this fight. He shouldn't retire. You know, I think he's gonna have problems against movers. You know, I think he's gonna have problems against like Rigondeaux or obviously Lomachenko, or guys that have a lot of good foot speed. But guys that's going to stand in front of him, even good top-level fighters, he's going to do well against. I think he would do well against a Salido or Johnny Gonzalez, you know, guys like that. I don't think, you know, he might even do well against like a Nonito Donaire. You know, Donaire is a good counterpuncher and everything. But, you know, he doesn't move too much, you know. He's pretty good counterpuncher. I think he'll do good against certain fighters, especially because he proved how tough he could be. But Lomachenko was just another animal, and they just weren't even in the same league. All right. I'm trying to think, is there any more in the fight that I want to talk about? Yeah, you know, as far as the fight, that's it for the fight. As far as their futures, Lomachenko, you know, he's a championship now. Congratulations to him. I think he tied the record of the fastest to reach a title. Okay. In his third professional fight, he's a title holder. He's the WBO featherweight champion now. He has a lot of options now. You know, a lot of people wants to see the Rigondeaux fight already. You got Johnny Gonzalez. You got Abner Mares. You got who else you got? There's a lot of fighters right now at 126. Okay, you got there's plenty of fighters. I can't even think of them all the names right now, but there's plenty of guys. You know, you still got Donaire in there. There's plenty of fighters at the division right now, you know, and both of them, you know, I still would like to see. Gary Russell can't go back to fighting trash cans, all right? I mean, tomato cans. He can't go back to fighting bums, okay? You already did that. It didn't make you improve. You don't need a warm-up match. You need to fight top contenders. You need to get better. You need to improve, you know. Now you face reality. You know that your hand speed doesn't mean everything, all right? Your power doesn't mean everything. Now you know that you need to be a more efficient fighter. Pick your shots better, okay? Certain things you need to improve on, your footwork. I don't think, you know, I don't think he's done. You know, I think he's exposed a little bit. Yes, he was. You know, I think if Lomachenko lost this fight, it wouldn't have been as much of a big deal. All right. one last thing. I think Lomachenko went into this fight mentally prepared for this fight. Uh, I said in previous videos, I don't think he went into the Salido fight mentally prepared. Uh, the experience factor, you're unsure of yourself, and I think he didn't have the confidence. I thought he was going to win the fight with Salido. I didn't think he won the fight, but I thought he was going to win. I picked him to win that fight. I thought he was going to start off fast like he did in this fight. He wasn't able to do that in that fight. I think everyone thought he was going to start off fast and fade in the later rounds because he was going against a brawler, a tough brawler in Orlando Salido that was going to pressure him. And we thought that Salido was going to take over. A lot of people thought, I know I wasn't the only one, that Salido was going to take over the second half of that fight. And it actually went the other way around, okay? Lomachenko almost stopped him. Even Lomachenko wants to avenge that loss, even right now. I don't know if Salido is still boxing. I know he's up there in age, all right? But I think eventually he should try to avenge that loss if Salido would want to fight him again. I don't know. But I don't even think that loss matters, because that was his second fight. And I think he's better than Salido. I think if there was a rematch, I think Lomachenko would probably, if not stop him, he would destroy him, okay, for 12 rounds. And now we know, listen, we see Lomachenko in 12 rounds, okay? We saw him fight good late in the Salido fight. We saw him fight good late in this fight against Russell Jr. All right, he actually almost stopped Russell Jr., all right, a couple times. So he's proven himself now. He's champion now. There's no more. Now he's just going to keep fighting top guys, okay? There's no reason for him to go back. He looks comfortable. He looks mentally good. Now we know he's a true professional, all right? We can still argue all day if it's unfair, what is unfair that he got his title shot so quickly. That's a different, that's a different topic. I already spoke on that on myself in other previous videos. But now that he is a champion, all right, he should fight nothing but top contenders, all right? And I'm sure that's what he wants, okay? I'm not sure if he's ready for a Rigondeaux fight. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that was his next fight. I really wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's such a bad thing at this point. All right, he's very good he's a top fighter to me. All right, so that's my thoughts on the fight. Like I said, Gary Russell Jr. still has he's only 26 years old. He has a long career ahead of him. Okay, he needs to bounce back from this loss. And that's it. So I'll probably put up the Sean Porter, Kell Brook video in a couple days, maybe tomorrow. I don't know, but be on the lookout for that video. All right, and thanks for watching. All right, subscribe to the channel.